Hello and good morning everyone. Welcome to DSS online classes. This is Roli ma'am here for science class, and today I am giving you a reading video of the topic how do we control fire from the chapter Combustion and Flame. So shall we start now? We are here. How do we control fire? You must have seen or heard of fire breaking out in homes, shops and factories. If you have seen such an accident, write a short description in your notebook. Also share experiences with your classmates. It means the cause of fire, whether it was from electrical appliances or fire caused on petrol or diesel or anything else. You have to give the cause and how you covered it, or how fire brigade covered it, or people what they lost in this, and so many things are there. You have to define it. Now find out the telephone number of the fire service in your area. If a fire breaks out in your house or in your neighborhood, the first thing to do is to call the fire service. Yes, it is very important because they will handle fire safely and in a right manner. So you should do it. First thing to do is to call the fire service. It is important that all of us know the telephone numbers of the fire service. Yes, it is very important, you should know. Does your city or town have a fire brigade station? Yes, I have. And the phone number of that fire brigade station is 094 544 18799. So when a fire brigade arrives, what does it do? If you call the fire brigade and it arrives, what does it do? Simply it pours water on the fire, and water cools the combustible material so that the temperature is brought below the ignition temperature. Simply that is the necessity or condition for combustion, that attainment of ignition temperature should be done, and if you bring the temperature below the ignition temperature, then automatically fire goes off. So this prevents the fire from spreading. Water vapors also surround the combustible material and helping in cutting off the supply of air. So the fire is extinguished. Means cut off the it will cut off the supply of oxygen. So that was also the necessary condition of combustion. You have learnt that there are 3 essential conditions for producing fire. Can you list these requirements? These are fuel, means presence of combustible substances; air to supply; oxygen means presence of supporter gas; and heat means attainment of ignition temperature, by which a substance catches fire, and it can be done by supplying heat to the material to raise the temperature of the fuel beyond the ignition temperature. Fire can be controlled by removing one or more of these requirements. Yes, it can be done. If you remove any of the 2 necessary requirements, then fire goes off. The job of the fire extinguisher is to cut off the supply of air or to bring down the temperature of the fuel, or both. Notice that fuel in most cases cannot be eliminated. If, for instance, a building catches fire, the whole building is a fuel, and naturally you cannot remove that fuel. So you have to cut off the supply of oxygen or to bring the ignition temperature of the substance below the ignition temperature. Now the most common fire extinguisher is water. Fire brigade also pour water on the fuel or burning substance, but water works only when things like wood and paper are on the fire. If electrical equipment is on fire, water may conduct electricity and harm those trying to douse the fire. Water is also not suitable for fire involving oil and petrol. So if you pour water on the electric appliance, if the fire is caused by a short circuit or electric appliance, then water will conduct electricity and you will get a shock. So you shouldn't do it. And in case of fire on oil and petrol having less density than water, less density than water, oil and petrol will float on water and again it will catch fire. So do you recall that water is heavier than oil? So it sinks below the oil and oil keeps burning on the top. For fires involving electrical equipment and inflammable materials like petrol, carbon dioxide is the best extinguisher. Carbon dioxide, being heavier than the oxygen, covers the fire like a blanket, and since the contact between the fuel and oxygen is cut off, the fire is controlled. The added advantage of CO2 is that in most cases it does not harm the electrical equipment. So perfect for the fire caused by electrical appliances. How do we get the supply of carbon dioxide? So it can be stored at high pressure as a liquid in cylinders. In what form is the LPG stored in the cylinder? In the same way, carbon dioxide gas is also stored at high pressure in liquid form in cylinders. When released from the cylinder, you can see that it is here. When released from the cylinder, CO2 expands enormously. So whenever you press this handle, and then CO2 expands enormously in volume and cools down, means brings the temperature below the ignition temperature. So it not only forms a blanket around the fire, it also brings down the temperature of the fuel. That is why it is an excellent fire extinguisher. Another way to get CO2 is to release a lot of dry powder of chemicals like sodium bicarbonate, baking soda or potassium bicarbonate. Near the fire, these chemicals give off CO2. So that was all about how do we control fire. I hope you understand. Thank you.